Hey guys, so a package arrived for me yesterday, and it was this here. This is an Optimus Svea 123 climbing stove. So these are very famous Swedish climbing stoves. They are very popular. They were first produced, I believe, in the mid to late 50s, and they are still produced to this day. This is a vintage model, so I believe this is maybe from the 80s or the 70s. So we'll just take a look. I've wanted one of these for quite a long time now, and they are very expensive to buy. This one came along at a very good price, so I decided to pick it up. So it includes the box. We have the original user manual. And then, of course, this small warning certificate. So this is the Svea. So you have a small pot. And the handle, I don't know whether this goes this way, but it seems to slide out if I use that way. So I think it goes this way. Like that maybe, I don't know. Possibly like this. Then you have the stove itself. This is very similar to the Primus stoves I have. I believe the Primus 96 and the 210, which I love to use, and the key. So you can unscrew this and you lift off the windshield. Fully brass construction, and these I believe you can turn out for using with a larger pot, which is very useful, especially if there's more than just you, more than one person. Then you have the stove itself. The earlier models, this valve here was canted off at a steeper angle, opposed to being 90 degrees. And the key is attached here. You have the filler cap. This has a small valve in there to release pressure. Inside you have a wick, and that's where you put your petrol. I did try this with kerosene originally. It says petrol everywhere, white gasoline, benzene, petrol everywhere. But I assumed that this would operate in the same way as my Primus 210. So I tried to operate with paraffin, and it worked, but it didn't work very well. Paraffin needs a higher pressure to evaporate effectively, and more heat to evaporate, which is why it didn't run very well on this stove. So very simple stoves. You just have the valve here, which the key attaches onto like that. You have the priming well for your spirits or gel. You have the burner head with a spreader on top. And then this here is the vaporizer. So this is the same as any sort of paraffin or pressure cooker. They operate in the principle that you have your flammable liquid in here. You then prime it using the priming pan. This will then cause the liquid fuel to evaporate, travel up the vaporizer, and then of course it is turned from a liquid into a gas, which is then sent through the jet nozzle on the inside. So the interesting thing about the Svea, the 123, especially the later R model, is that it is a self-cleaning. So you may be able to see it as I turn this. There is a small needle that just pops up. So with an old Primus, you would use a pricker, and you'd put that in, and you'd prick the hole to make sure that the carbon doesn't build up there. So let's take a look at lighting this. So first I will put some water in the pan. I'm using methylated spirits for this, but you can, of course, use gel fuel. And I think originally these were used with a paste. You want to make sure that this is always has at least half fuel in there. They recommend 2/3, so I would say that's up to around this point here, or just above the wicks, and never to run these dry, as it can cause damage to the wicks. But I know there is adequate fuel in there. So I will add some drops to the reservoir. This is a kind of a delicate procedure with using methylated spirits. Obviously it's a little easier outside, but thankfully it evaporates fairly quickly. And then you need to thread your key. Let me work this out. The key goes through the hole. The windshield goes on top, and you can seal it. And then you just, I will actually move this away because there's the spirits on. And put that here so it doesn't catch fire. And then you will just ignite using your lighter. There we go. So now that is priming. And you can take your key, put it on like that. So now it's heating up the fuel in the tank, and it's heating up the vaporizer, which is causing the liquid fuel to vaporize, turn into a gas, which then be expelled through the jet, as you can start to hear now. The stove should be self-igniting, so effectively the lit fuel, the lit methylated spirit should ignite the gases escaping from the burner. But you can always hold a flame. There you go. Now most of them make this sound when you first ignite them. That's just as the gas is now warming up and priming itself. So there we go, the water is now boiling, and we can turn off the stove. It is wise to, when you're operating the stove, to remove the key from here, otherwise it can get quite hot. You can see there, maybe it's still lit, you can see possibly, no, but it's still lit. So you can blow that out, or you can allow the additional gas to dissipate effectively. And that's entirely up to you, whether you're going to be using the stove again in a few minutes' time or whatever. But it takes roughly about 4 minutes, 30 seconds at ambient temperature. It's around about 18 degrees today, so it operates very, very well. These stoves are notoriously good at operation below 0 temperatures because, of course, petrol doesn't freeze until a lot colder than 0. So this will outperform any regular butane gas stoves, as well as some hexamine and methylated spirit stoves. Of course, with the Trangia or Trangia, you do have the option to use the preheater burner, which I haven't utilized yet, but I can do a demonstration of that. But these are very, very good all-year stoves, and again, they will operate fairly well at higher altitudes. So it takes, around about 4 minutes, 30 seconds to burn. So it's not the fastest stove. It's not as powerful as the Primus 210 or 210. However, for its small compact size and incorporated pot, it is a brilliant one-person solo cook kit. The fuel is very, very easily obtainable. So again, it is perfect for traveling, especially if you're looking to go into countries that, finding gas cylinders or paraffin oil would be a little bit more difficult, as petrol is going to be more readily available. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope to provide a video of this stove in application very soon on my next trip. And if you have any comments, please leave them down below.